Tonight we will examine concepts that may challenge your perception of the world around you. Strange creatures, chilling tales, and the occasional conspiracy. Here on our show, we will attempt to provide you with paranormal insight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special broadcast this evening. We are going to be talking with the team of S.C.A.R.I. And let me tell you how we met. First, I want everyone to go around the room. Let's start with JJ.
Hi. Well, as you've heard on other episodes, Tim, you and I met long before, and we've been working together for, wow.
Since 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good long time. I just looked at the calendar and the year.
Yep.
So yeah, we've been working with each other for a good long while. I am the psychic specialist on the team.
Yep. And Alex.
S.C.A.R.I was looking for new recruits.
Yeah.
And after the interview, it was basically all set and done because it kind of seemed like the perfect fit. So that's how I got introduced into this group and the dynamic, and it all ended up working out really well. So
thank you. And Sage.
Hi. I met wonderful JJ, Alex, and Tim through the process of getting recruited for new S.C.A.R.I members. And it was some of my experiences from the past with spiritual experiences, some of my own gifting and stuff. It aligned perfectly. So yeah. Became a part of the team.
That's right. The idea was to we had a new case, which we'll get into in just a little bit, and it required more than just JJ and myself to make it work out. And there is a fifth member who couldn't join us today. That's Paige, and it just happened to align that all my new recruits were female. That was awesome. And I'm not saying that to be a misogynist jerk. I'm saying it was awesome because I got the best people for the job. Alex is our resident scientist / skeptic, although not really so much skeptic anymore. She'll get into that in a little bit. And Sage is our newer, psychic and spiritually in tune individual. And then we have Paige, who was kind of nonplussed on the whole thing. She was right down the middle. She said, "Yeah, let's do some investigation, see where we land." Okay, let's do it. And that was rounded out things. When we first got together, we did a preliminary investigation over at JJ's house, and let's discuss that first. So we first
start on that.
Oh yeah, right. And that was actually kind of interesting. The first thing we did was a minor little tech brief. I told them how to break the equipment down, how to set it up, and that went super fast. I was super excited by that too. I thought I'd have to hold everyone's hand on the whole thing. Nope, they picked it up like that. I was super excited. That was great, and we just rolled right into investigate right after that. So let's go to JJ.
Well, in order to get the team ready and used to the feelings of the work that I do on the team, I had to do a clearing and then a tethering on every individual on the team.
Which she does all the time.
Right. Now, Tim, you and I are old hat at this. You know what it feels like. You've been through, the drill. I could go pretty quickly on you.
Yeah.
But obviously, Sage, Alex, and Paige at that time had not. Alex, being the skeptic, was kind of excited of, what is this going to be like? What are you doing? So I actually let Alex go last, in order for Alex to be able to watch the process on how I worked on everyone else. Paige felt pretty wonderful right after. Sage had a very instantaneous reaction.
What was that reaction?
Oh my gosh. I'm someone who is very much connected to the astral a lot. And when JJ approached me, she was like, we need to get you grounded now. And after we did the protection, I instantly felt reconnected to my body, and it just almost sent waves down into the earth of how instant and how clear of a connection it was.
Right on. That's cool. Alex, what was your experience?
Apparently I'm not very good at grounding. It took a few minutes to fully, get into that state of mind and to relax and let JJ do her thing. But after, it was a feeling. You can feel when you're grounded. It's not something that is something you think. It's not a state of mind being grounded. That's what I learned that day. It's being fully present, and you can start to feel that weight that is bringing you back down, and you feel heavier, which it probably is harder to understand me saying it, but if you know the feeling, you know the feeling. And that was really interesting for me because I had never experienced anything similar like that before. And yes, I am skeptic, but there are certain things that you can't deny. And that was one of the feelings that I couldn't deny. And throughout the whole experience and the whole, test at JJ's house,
Yeah.
I was beginning to have moments that were like, oh shit, that's kind of weird. But there's a few other moments, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, after getting that whole experience of JJ grounding me and tying herself to me and protecting, putting all that stuff around it, there was definitely something there that I could sense, like Sixth Sense type shit, but not Sixth Sense type shit. Something similar.
The thing I experience, and I'm not sure that everyone experiences it the same way. I get warm when she links in like that and goes into protective mode. I'm like that right now because she's in a protective mode. Who else is warm? Like it's extra warm for some reason. I got my fan on in the background right now.
Sorry, Tim.
That's okay. Hey, you know what? Small price to pay for being spiritually protected.
Exactly, especially with this subject matter.
Uh-huh. So, Sage,
Yeah.
do you feel that warmth?
I get it in a little bit of a different way.
Okay.
I feel almost bubbled.
Oh, okay. You feel that shield around you kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel very in my own space, and I feel very grounded. There's been a few times, especially not only when she grounded me then, but throughout even the process of, doing protection, bubbling, stuff like that, I could literally start to feel my own bubble expanding and almost becoming more dense. So I experienced more of like there's a glass wall around me that there's not a lot of things that can enter.
I can relate to that. To that. Alex, did you feel a warmth, or what did you feel?
It wasn't more of a warmth on the outside, more of an internal warmth. So
Yes.
like my body felt warmer, but it wasn't like I was hot or my skin was hot. It wasn't any of that. It was more of the, it's a comfort feeling.
Yeah. It's like a warm blanket wrapped around you. It really is. And that makes me perspire a great deal.
Same.
Yeah. So, yeah, for those who haven't heard the tidbit where she demonstrated her power once, she was trying to show Henry something. Henry's our former partner who has passed. And he says, "So what's it feel like, Tim?" I said, "I want you to sit next to me because it is boiling over here." And it was super warm. When she's been in spiritual contact in the car, her side of the car fogs up. It's amazing.
The froster is definitely in use.
Oh yes, for sure, and it doesn't freaking help.
No, it does not.
Her heat output is it's measurable. I bet you anything is measurable. I should have done that last time. I'm a poor
actually,
scientist.
Alex did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there was a part when we'll get into that, but yeah, Alex actually had a laser thermometer,
right,
and put it at the ambient temperature in the room, other people in the room, and then put it on me, and I was well over 100 degrees.
Yeah, I believe it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a joke within our team because you guys call me Mama Wolf, and I definitely am. I'm extremely protective, and that comes out in that sense of comfort for some of you. Tim, for you, in that sense of extreme heat.
He's nervous.
and the bubble. But
small price to pay.
It's true. And I work a lot differently than a lot of other psychics on other teams because I do tether. Part of it is because I know how to, and I know how to safely. Most people try not to do that, to be honest. But because in our investigations, you go in blind without me first, I tether to you in order to make sure that while you go in there without me, you are protected, and that I can pick up on signals if, I need to run in and things get too out of hand. Right. So it's like a triple layer of protection. And the interesting thing about tethering is I'm literally tethered to your body, so I can tell what is going on in your body.
Right.
As a result, while we were on this specific investigation where I was outside for a good long time, I can feel when you guys are hungry. I can feel when people need a break. So that Alex can attest to some of that. Well, her skeptical mind was, even we were doing the trial, in her mind being a skeptic, well, how would you know that? And then I'm, instantaneously pulling these things out. So it is kind of a fun little warm up for the team.
That moment right there, that's what fully freaked me out. It was scary, pun intended.
I like
it. We were doing the test through the house, through JJ's house, and I was having weird thoughts in my head. And it's not like I would say these thoughts to anyone or like tell anybody about it. It's just your own thoughts. Why would I be like, hey, I had a random thought? I didn't tell anyone about this. And JJ came up to me and she says, hey, I can see that you're having really negative, strange thoughts that are weird. And I said, in my head, I was like, what the fuck? How do you know this? What the hell? This is weird. Why are you, what, how? And that's what I was thinking in my head at the time. And JJ explained it to me. She said, these aren't necessarily your thoughts, but it's the energies of everything around you. And I was like, holy shit, my mind is blown. And a different incident happened when we were doing the test run at JJ's house. And this was while we were walking through the house when the activity got ramped up and everybody was outside. It was just, Tim, Sage, Paige, and me inside. And we were walking through. I was the last person in line and we were going over to the front door. And I heard a door basically close. and it's a distinct noise. You can tell what a door closing sounds like.
Right.
So right after I heard that sound, I immediately turned around. I was like, who the fuck is here? Ain't nobody gonna be fucking with me. Ain't nobody gonna be messing with my brain right now.
You tell him.
So I turned around, did a 180 immediately. I would be dead in a horror movie instantly if that was the case. But I checked all the rooms. I went back, I ran back in, checked all the rooms, looked behind the doors, under the cupboard, like who's here? And,
And
nobody was there.
This was in the bathroom, correct?
It was when we passed the bathroom, but it was from a door that I heard in the back. It was either the office space or the bedroom door. I don't know which one because I didn't see it.
Gotcha.
I just heard it. It just came from the back side of the house.
Right.
And so I went in there. I went out. I looked out the window. I went outside, saw JJ and her mom, and realized nobody was in the house. It was just us. And that also, weirded me out just a little bit because I was lagging behind the group a good amount, and I don't think everybody heard it, what I heard, and maybe that's my mind messing with me, but it was so distinct, and it's a sound that it just be made up randomly, or the AC wasn't on, and all this. There's every single possibility was going through my head about what this door closing could end up leading to, and I couldn't think of anything.
It was, I think we actually caught that sound on tape, if I remember correctly.
I think we might have.
Yeah. I think we caught it. I don't think we caught it on the cameras. I think we caught it on the voice recorder. But yeah, we caught it and we reviewed it. I remember because you brought it up, and it took me a while to realize, yeah, I heard a door. I'm used to hearing weird noises in that house. So it didn't register with me, which makes me, again, a bad scientist. But, yeah, we caught that on the audio, which is amazing. And it's slight. You hear it go, but that's about it. But it was more of a slam in real life, if I remember correctly. It was like a short slam, like the door was slightly ajar and then boom.
I still love that this was the day before the investigation.
Right. This is the test.
This is just them getting to know us,
right.
And, doing the first initial walkthrough as the team.
Welcome to Paranormal Investigation, Alex.
101.
All right. Sage, do you remember this incident?
I actually don't remember hearing the door close, but I do remember some noises that were made when we were in the bathroom.
Right.
We were I think we heard a popping noise from coming in the bathroom and seeing.
Didn't we see something?
Yeah, we saw something in the bathroom. I think Alex and I, when we were in the bathroom, I think we saw something near the shower.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't hear the door, but I was seeing more than I was actually hearing. So.
Oh, interesting. I think we caught it. We definitely caught the visual of that on camera, on only one camera. I think it was Alex's. That was the only one that showed it. So I'll make sure to show that during the playback. But yeah, we did catch it. It's faint, but it's there, and you could see it, and it kind of goes in and out. It fluctuates between our reality and wherever else this thing is existing. And it was up in the corner, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, near the shower.
Right.
I think it was the top left corner
right.
of the shower.
Yeah. And for the record, there is not a door on the ceiling of the top left shower.
Yeah, no doors there.
Yeah.
Surprisingly not.
Now, you have that one closet back there, but that we checked it. That wasn't the sound, right?
Mm-mm.
No. And I let you all have the space entirely. So I stayed outside deliberetely with my mom while you were all inside. And we were outside, like as far out as we could be, so that her and I talking wouldn't be misconstrued, and her and I actually didn't talk. We just both like we're Googling stuff the entire time to stay quiet. But yeah, so that was day one.
That was day
getting
one.
to know you.
Yeah,
Super
that was
fun.
fantastic. And then the big adventure. What I find interesting in hindsight about the actual investigation the following day is the fact that everybody, with the exception of the people who actually lived at this place, was late. I think that's an interesting, I mean, you could say it's traffic, you could say bad planning, you could say, but everybody was late getting there.
And a couple caveats to that.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, there was one individual who was supposed to be there 2 or 3 hours before us.
Right.
Tim, because you and I went up together. And they actually ended up showing up after us.
Yeah.
You and I ended up getting lost on the way up.
Yeah.
Which
we were 45 minutes lost, got back on track, showed up, and we still beat everybody there.
Correct. Now, mind you, we all had a very firm meeting time. Right. I mean, the place was, it's not a super hard place to get to, but it's definitely out the way.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd call it the sticks, for lack of a better term. It was out there. It was out in the country.
So, to speak to that, it wasn't a matter of it was a holiday weekend and there was super traffic. This was more of a very confusing conglomeration that everyone was late.
Yeah, there was.
And you and I ended up being the first.
And there's no traffic. There's no traffic on the roads to get there. It's just it's just something that's always like that for me at least.
She was coming from the opposite direction, if I remember right.
That is true, yeah.
Going northbound the way we were, we hit a major piece of construction and it was just a slow snake, and that was after we got lost. And we still beat most people there.
Yeah, I remember Sage and I waited in my car outside for, just like a minute or two. It wasn't anything super, long.
Actually, no. Tim and I were there first.
And then you came out and picked us up to...
You two came next. Right. And then the original person who was supposed to be there hours before us was the last, which was interesting because they were supposed to be there before us. They also came a different way. So all three of us came from different directions.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly what traffic was like or if there were any issues, but there's always a accounting for...
Oh yeah, we know. I do think that is a little important piece because, all of us living in that local area, knowing the destination where we were going, we had all factored in traffic and all of those things to our schedule. So the fact that technically Tim and I got a later start, and remember, Tim, you and I had to go a different way because there was a huge fire.
That's right.
That broke out on the main way that we would normally go. So we actually had to go through town to get around.
Yeah, that was part of that detour. Yeah.
Yeah, this detour, and then we still end up beating everyone, which was kind of interesting to start it off, and then it just went from there.
Oh yeah. So one of the first things we did was we kind of got delayed in the setup because it was just me going through by myself, which I objected against, but the client and the other people who were associated with the location wanted me alone to see stuff. I think I may have brought you guys, at least one or two of the other investigators, with me. Do you recall? Alex or Sage, did you go with me on the initial walkthrough?
I don't know if it was an initial walkthrough, but I remember setting up the tables and all of that stuff. I don't think it was the initial, like, here's the house, this is this room, like just like a quick 2-minute thing. I don't think Sage and I were a part of that, but
so
we helped
set
up after.
Yeah, you did. So I get walked through by myself, which was freaking weird to start with. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't bring the rest of my team with me. JJ is the exception. She stays outside until she's required for the psychic version of that. of that.
And I keep myself outside and I keep myself spiritually blindfolded.
Yes.
So I'm tethered to all of you. I can sense what's going on through you, but I myself am trying not to peek.
And it should be said that, was I tethered before when I did my initial walkthrough, or was I spirit?
Yes.
Well, was I?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we did that ritual before or not. Okay. To call it a ritual isn't exact, by the way. I just said that word, but it's not like we were burning sage or anything like that. And so it's me by myself with the client and his housemates or something, and they're telling me all this stuff. And I don't like it. I don't like it from the jump. It has got me on the edge right away because there is something being held back. That's my ultimate sense. Something's being held back from my perception.
And I mean, you're in there alone. If, say, Sage or I were allowed to go and do the initial walkthrough of the house, we would be able to hear this stuff, but we didn't. So we can't really, it's harder to prove something when it's like 1 against a million.
Right.
And it was just unfortunate that we didn't have the opportunity to actually experience that.
I couldn't agree more. It's not only unfortunate, but it'll never happen again. Ever.
Well, I think to say, the entire situation was weird, from the fact of everyone showing up late, us being there first, to the client singling you out, separating the girls off, putting me where I was. I mean, I was, in the back 40 basically by myself. So what I'm saying is the whole thing started off weird.
Yeah.
It was, to speak to your sense, Tim, the whole thing felt like it was already careening out of control. And that was before we even got there.
Yep.
And then when we got there, it was like, you're the team lead investigator. You're the team lead.
Yeah.
And you're normally in control of the situation and what goes on. And you're telling the client, here's how it's going to go.
Right.
This time the client was like, nope, this is how it's going to go.
Right.
And kept trying to take the power away from you and us.
Yeah. I was this close to saying, everyone pack it up, we're leaving. I was this close. But we trained for it. We had the space, and I was hoping, against all hope, that we would get a chance to investigate an actual haunted location. And it certainly had a vibe. I will say that. The place had a vibe. I can speak to that. Our psychics can speak to that. Alex could probably speak to that too if she was in tune. But I mean, there was a vibe and something was being held back from me on that initial walkthrough. I go back outside. We start the setup. Did we do a second bubbling? Am I not recalling that correctly? Go ahead.
I do believe before we initially went in, I think JJ pulled at least me to the side and she bubbled me again before we started stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about either you or Alex, but I know that was true for me. But I do get the sense of that there was a lot of what you were talking about, Tim, with the energy. We didn't get a chance to really, at the moment, talk to each other about these vibes, but I think everyone was very much aware of feeling how off the energy was and how it was a strong sense of almost deception.
Yes, that is the word. That is the key word, and that'll linger throughout the entire night.
So to speak to the question, yes, and the reason why was when we got there, I'm not allowed in the space. You guys all went in first to drop off equipment, do equipment setup. Tim gets taken on Mr. Toad's Wild Walk with the client, separating you all, and I'm outside. And when you all came out after the tech setup, I needed to redo everything because all of your protection had been infiltrated.
Mhm.
So, at first, because I'm blindfolding myself, trying not to see, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is everyone getting a little frazzled. We all got here late. We're starting late. Tech setup went a little strange. Tim got separated from the team. They were kind of on their own. Maybe everyone's just a little frazzled, because I had just met Alex, Sage, and Paige the day before. So I don't really know you all super well to know what your habits are, but I did think it was strange, especially with you, Tim, because normally I never have to rebubble or retether to you.
Yeah, I remember that. I thought I remembered that correctly because I'd never seen you bubble or protect us twice on the same case.
And if you remember correctly, I asked the client if they would like me to bubble and clear and protect them because knowing we were going to do an investigation, and this was the first time in my career of doing this that the client said no.
Which should have been a clue.
And was very firm about it too. Didn't even want JJ around him.
Right.
Yeah, it was not a no, thank you. It was a very firm no, and with some attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, that attitude persisted, and that feeling persisted, and that, we'll call it negativity on his part, persisted.
It did. And then there was the interaction that I had. So I'm basically sitting out in this very long driveway. There was a little patch of sun and it was kind of cold. So I was sitting in it. And the client, for whatever reason, came out and got in their car as if they were going to leave. And so when I saw it, I looked over and I said, "Oh, do you need me to move?" And instead of, "Oh yeah, could you move? I'm going to do a quick errand." I was basically told, "Get the bleep out of my way."
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Now here's the thing, okay, that I want to speak to. We're a paranormal research team. We were invited to be at this location by this client. This client wanted this.
Mhm.
This client also knew I came along with that.
Yep.
People are normally really nice to me. I mean, Tim can attest to this because
everyone loves you.
We've done like really mundane, regular stuff, like go to dinner or, go shopping at a store and stuff. So you see how people interact with me.
Yeah.
People typically are like extra nice to me because I'm extra nice to them.
You're an extra nice person.
But what I'm saying is, like, I'm not someone that you would want to instantly be mean and aggressive to.
Right.
And I'm not used to it. So when that interaction took place, I was confused. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe there's something going on inside that I don't know about. I'll get filled in when it's time to get filled in. And then.
Let's talk about the tech through. It's just me and the investigators traipsing through the house, looking at all the hot spots that I was told about. I had to relay all this in the background to everyone. Sage and I think we were the first team. And then Alex and Paige, where did you guys go? You went outside initially?
Yeah, we just waited outside for the most part until we started setting up equipment. But while we were outside, that was the first initial scope of the house because we wanted to be there with you for this.
Right.
And that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to be there for that. I wanted to ask questions, but they made them do it with you first and then us. It was like it happened twice basically, which was completely unnecessary in my opinion.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
It was keeping you all divided.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting ploy,
And it was very interesting that the client was very insistent about going outside away from Tim and JJ and just being around us new investigators. and trying to get us outside of the house
A lot.
as much as possible versus staying inside, which is where the investigation was initially supposed to be.
Yeah, the chief
We're
activity happened inside the house. I think there was one thing that happened outside, and that was it.
Right. And the other weird thing was it wasn't outside on the same side of the house that I was. It was on the completely other side of the house.
And a good, I'd say, 100, maybe 150 yards away from you, too.
As far away from me as they could get them
Right.
away. We'll put it that way.
Right.
And had Alex and Paige walking out there almost until dark.
Yeah, that's right.
Meanwhile, little old me.
You were just sitting out there.
Yeah.
I was sitting out there by myself. I tried to listen to music, podcasts. I read a book, I think an entire book. I was outside for a total of 6 hours.
Now, it should be said that's typically not what happens. It's a
Absolutely
tech
not.
through and maybe takes an hour. JJ's brought in. What caused the bulk of our delay was that we had a television crew following us around, and they had their demands on top of everything else. So angles had to be right, and we just, I don't know. I don't think the camera crew really had everything sussed out that I think they should have had sussed out when preparing for this gig. It's like they just picked up the camera and rolled, which was...
Well, and the fact that everyone was late too. I mean, they showed up after us, which
That's
didn't
true.
help anything either, which
Right.
again was part of the weirdness. All of that was
Yeah.
supposed to be done in advance.
Yeah.
We come in, and it was like until we showed up, no one else could be there.
Yeah, no one else knew what to do. The client just
Yeah.
sat at his house and twiddled his thumbs, and he knew what was going to be happening.
Yeah.
So...
And I also think it's important to say it wasn't a huge house either.
No, it isn't. Not at all.
So the fact that the tech through took 6 hours.
With 4 people on the inside.
Correct.
I mean, that's
Insane.
ridiculous. I mean, the house, like you said, wasn't that big. What would you call the square footage on that? Maybe 2,000?
1,500 max.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, at max, it was definitely not bigger than 1,500.
Okay.
And it was an open space too. It wasn't like there was a lot of rooms.
Yeah,
to
there was no
keep
furniture
going.
either. There's
Yeah.
barely any.
Yeah, the client
Mhm.
was looking to move out of that place, and we had an opportunity to go in, so I took it. And it... Anyway, so yes, there was the client giving us problems. There's the camera crew giving us problems as far as scheduling goes. Because like I said, our tech through should have taken 1 hour max. And then JJ comes in. And
And
it
the
should...
other thing
I'm
was,
sorry. Go ahead.
I had asked, since it was taking so long, I had checked in numerous times, because I didn't have access to food or a bathroom. So being outside for 6 hours, and now it was dark and cold, was a bit of an issue. Now, on top of all of that, we have this weird interaction with the client and myself twice. And I had asked, when you guys were ready for me, could you give me a 15 to 30 minute heads up? Because at this point, I have no shoes on, and I'm sitting in Tim's van, basically,
Right.
with the heater on, trying to stay warm. And so I needed time to put my shoes and socks on. I also need time to bubble myself, etc. And that was also not given.
Yeah, you were rushed into that. You were rushed into your prep to come inside. That's for sure. I'm glad you stood your ground on that, though, and did it anyway. Took your time. I think you rushed it a little, but
everything in this investigation, I felt, was made to divide us and
Interesting.
catch us off guard. And it happened from the beginning. So obviously hindsight's 2020. We can see all this now. But this was one heck of an investigation. Half the girls started with us on.
Yeah, welcome to the wild ride, right? And the funny thing is the tech through itself, 6 hours of teching through someplace, I can't believe it. Anyway, it showed nothing. Even on playback when we reviewed the evidence, we don't get anything at all. Maybe a couple of minor pops here and there, a weird sound like a door. But honestly, that's it. That is it for the tech through. That's 6 hours of unnecessary tech through, but nonetheless, that's what it was. Then we take a dinner break. I think we took a meal break, and after that, we brought JJ in. And leave it to JJ to stir things up. And and that's kind of why we have JJ on the team. She's there to perceive what's happening that I, as a normal, mundane, everyday human, can't. That's what she's there for. And she's also there to interact with these spiritual entities to get answers, because that's what we're there for, to provide answers. And JJ,
and interact I did.
Interact you did indeed. Your first foray was I decided to circle out and come into the house because I figured that was the most effective method. Paige and I stayed inside. Alex, JJ, and Paige followed the client out to the field. And why don't you take us there?
Okay, so at this point, it's dark. And we're in a pretty rural area, so there's not a lot of light pollution. So
there wasn't any. I mean, without a flashlight, we couldn't see JJ when we were walking outside. It was hard to see. I was tripping over stuff. I mean, yeah. I can count multiple times where you had to grab me because I was about to fall.
Yeah, I had to divert all of us out of gopher pits and all sorts of fun stuff that were happening. So this is a very rural area. So when you say take a loop or two around the property, I mean, this thing's on 25, 50 acres. Yeah. So that's a lot of property to take a loop around, especially in the dark. I've got 2 new girls on my team, plus the client who I've already had a weird interaction with twice, mind you. And now it's hurry up, we're going right now. And that's how the van door opened, and it was hurry up, we're going now. I don't have shoes or socks on. I haven't done my bubbling and everything. I'm still blindfolded. So Tim, I did stand my ground and take my sweet time doing what I needed to do.
Good for you. Good
because
for you.
Again, I felt like everything in that day was designed to irritate, divide, and
just mess with us in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So off I go. And, this terrain is not easy to traverse.
Especially at night.
It's not paved. This is dirt. Mm-hmm. There's clods of dirt all over. And this person starts taking us up this hill, which was about a 70-degree grade.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yes.
Because it was flat in the would-be backyard where it was paved still.
Yes.
And then it goes up.
Yeah.
And then levels out again.
So great. I haven't moved in 6 hours, right? I've been pretty stationary, and, I should have started with my yoga stretching, but immediately it's like, okay, come climb this hill that, for me being a little vertically challenged, I'm putting my hands out in front of me, to see, am I going to be face to face with the dirt, but also to grab onto vines to pull myself up this thing. We get to the top of this nothing burger area, great view. But other than that, I was like, why would you take us here? The client will not talk directly to me. The client will only talk to Alex and Paige, which I also thought was strange because, I'm the lead, you're supposed to do the walkthrough with me, but whatever.
Right.
And so basically at that point, the client keeps wanting to take me to the left. And I said, there's absolutely nothing over that way that I am in any way whatsoever hitting on.
Right.
I want to go to the right.
Okay, let me pause you right there. That's very interesting because on my initial walkthrough, my solo, he took me to the right immediately. And that's where he said he had his were cow experience or whatever the hell it was. And anyway, I'll let you continue.
Sorry, I'm giving Tim a very special look right now. So I had said at that point, I wanted to go to the right. So down this embankment we come. It levels out a little, but it's still kind of up and down hilly terrain. And it's loose dirt. So, you think you're going to be stepping on a firm dirt, and then all of a sudden your foot goes way down because it's very loose. So I'm trying to keep, Alex upright. I've got them with cameras.
Yeah.
So, good luck on the footage with that. It's going to be all over the place. Like, you're going to get seasick from it.
I'll straighten it
out. The wind starts. So I'm trying to tell them you need to cover the microphone with one of your hands so that you're not getting just wind, which I thought was really interesting because in playback of some of this stuff, you will hear the investigator ask the question, and when the client talks, all you hear is wind.
Yeah, no matter what they did.
Also, I think it's important to mention that, I'm not sure if you already did mention it, my memory is kind of terrible, but when we were walking down and turned on our flashlights, the client was like, no, don't turn on the flashlights. Our eyes will adjust.
No way. I didn't hear this.
This is one of the reasons why I was stumbling so much and almost fell, because the client basically said, don't use flashlights. Your eyes will adjust. I was like, what the? Okay, how's anybody supposed to see now? Like, what? I was just so confused.
That's very confusing.
Point.
And
and the client is trying to be somewhat chivalrous to Alex and Paige at this point and help steady them. They want nothing to do with this client,
right?
And are literally almost under Mama Wolf's wings, if you will. Mama Crow at this point.
And at that time, I was looking at you like, if anything goes down, you better protect me. I am a twig. I cannot stand up for myself. If I fall over, every single bone in my body will break.
Little glass Alex over there.
And even on the way back up the hill.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you get to that part.
So at this point, I've got Alex looped in on one of my arms. I've got Paige on the other. They're both holding cameras. I can see enough because I'm vertically challenged, so I'm lower to the ground, right? So I'm seeing the ground enough. The client basically is either walking way in front or way in back. And at this point, because they didn't want to go the direction I wanted to go, they're hanging back and they're trying to separate Alex and Paige from me. Kept trying to do sidebar conversations until finally the girls basically said, we need to walk with her because we can't see and we're supposed to be taking video. So again, I'm already a little sus about everything. And I get to this one part. It's basically kind of like an open field, but I'm on kind of a high ridge where I can overlook, the location completely. And I get this sense of something running at us. And now, mind you, the client is behind me about 10, 15 paces. And I've got both girls like not on my arms. I'm talking about they're literally like curled into me like chicks with a mama bird at this point, right? And, we're all grown women, but I am very protective. But that was the feeling that they're having as we're out here in the dark. The client's doing weird stuff and, protect us. So I sense this thing coming from this way deep kind of copse of trees, and it's hauling what towards us. And I get a bead on it and I realize it's going to attack the client. So I have to break from the girls and say, do not move. And I have to walk out. No, I'm off of any kind of pathway at this point. I'm literally in a field. And I have to walk out in this field and put my hand out and say, stop. and the client stutter steps behind me back. And this being, I didn't even have words at the time of what to call it. It looked like the cross between a squirrel, raccoon, and a koala. Basically stops and is chittering up a storm. I mean, this thing is ticked, and it's trying to get around me to attack the client.
Okay.
And so I basically ask it, stop. I need you to tell me what is going on. Like, what's your beef? And it tells me this tale. Now, mind you, as we were on this walk, the client is talking to Alex about how much they love animals and they're a big nature lover.
Really?
And this little being is telling me that the client actually murdered a whole bunch of its nature friends.
Squirrels, specifically.
And then after you said this, he came to tell the truth and was like, yeah, I hunt.
Oh, not just that he hunted. It was that he said that someone else put him up to it, but that he would go out, and he took out over 50 to 100 squirrels in this specific area. And then he acted like he was sad about it. This thing knew its heart. And so I basically told him, you need to apologize to this thing, because I can only hold it back for so long, but like, it wants blood.
Right.
And so he does this half-hearted apology. And basically I communicated with the nature being, and it started telling me how sad it was. You know, it had lost a whole bunch of these squirrel friends. There's not much wildlife left in this location. And it basically asked if it could sit with me for the duration of my stay there.
Okay. And there it goes again. Right there. This thing. All right. I'm gonna roll tape on my end too, but let's keep talking.
Because this happens as we were there.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the cow. There was no cow entity that you were aware of. Very strange.
Tim, all of a sudden, his stuff won't work to record.
Right. We're recording on Alex's stuff right now.
We have never had this issue before. Multiple times we've done this. Nope. Not only is it not recording, but now you can't turn it off.
Technical issues would continue to plague us during this recording. Was it the spirits trying to stop us? In fact, no, it was my own technical ineptitude, and I apologize. Stay tuned next week for part 2 of Team S.C.A.R.I. Thank you for watching and listening. Please click the subscribe button and activate notifications for future episodes and other content. On Spotify, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram under paranormal.insight.podcast